The burnout looked like late night crying. Because not only did I feel the pressure to win when it came to opening the practice, I felt the pressure to be a single mom and just the judgment behind it. Like, you're a single mom, you uprooted the kids, you're opening up a practice, like, you're doing too much, Carmy.
Folks that are in these healing positions, whether coaches or therapists or psychologists, just in a helping or healing capacity of some sort, they often carry the emotional weight of their clients as well. They take that on themselves.
It is extremely common in the helping profession, not even just clinicians as far as mental health. When I speak to medical practitioners as well, and they have a shift. They'll stay over, they won't even fact out during time. And it comes from the compassion. I'm helping my patients, and yet nothing is being done to refuel that energy to go back and do what you're doing to the best of your ability. And it really is work that I had to do myself. I had to do all of that. I experienced all of it: burnout, compassion fatigue, and vicarious trauma. The very beginning of building the practice was my burning, right? Then I kind of found my groove, but then there was compassion fatigue. I was leaning into, I didn't recognize how it was affecting me. Then see that, right? And I just thought, look how much I care for my clients. I'm feeling heavier, and it's not even my load. And I'm feeling that way. So I emotionally and mentally felt fatigued. And it wasn't me, right? It wasn't anything that was actually happening in my life. And then there was that vicarious trauma where I was just being pulled. And I was like, dude, I thought I dealt with this already. Yeah, trying to find myself a therapist so that I'm not opening these wounds while I'm trying to help someone else. It's that whole concept. When you're on the plane, they say, put on your mask first.
Yeah.
And then you put the mask on everyone else. And so I went through those stages, which is why now it's just, I want to help with the awareness and just kind of catch early on clinicians and say, hey, yes, to some degree, we are saving the world. We are. But you can't lose yourself while doing that.
Today we're going to go deep. Not Instagram inspirational deep, not light a candle and manifest your way out of burnout deep. I mean the real stuff. The behind the scenes truth nobody wants to talk about, especially the helpers, the healers, and professionals who are supposed to have it all together, right? On this episode of Passion from Pain, we're sitting down with a woman who has lived the weight of everyone else's emotions while carrying her own. Dr. Carmy Aristor, licensed psychotherapist, trauma informed clinician, multi state practice owner, burnout educator, mentor, and creator of Helping the Healers, is here to tell the truth that most people in the mental health and helping professions never say out loud. You can save lives, you can hold space, you can show up for everyone else and still be drowning quietly in your own exhaustion, trauma, and emotional overload. And she knows because she lived it hard. Dr. Carmy has spent over a decade helping clients transform their emotional wounds. But her real transformation came in the moments when she was the only one barely holding it together. Moments where where she was a single mom, working 10 sessions a day, caring deeply, serving deeply, and realizing that her own trauma was still in the room with her every time she showed up for someone else. She learned painfully that empathy without boundaries is not compassion, it's just self destruction. And she rebuilt everything from the ground up. And today she leads Destined Horizons, runs clinical teams across multiple states, supervises new clinicians, teaches the Helping Healers burnout recovery framework, and offers real strategies for emotional sustainability, the kind that keep you from falling apart behind closed doors. But what I love the most is that she's honest, she's grounded, she is the blend of clinical brilliance, and human truths we all wish more people in the field had. So, if you're a therapist, a coach, a leader, a parent, or the strong one everyone leans on, buckle up because this episode is your permission slip to listen to the part of yourself that you've been silencing. Let's talk burnout. Let's talk trauma. Let's talk compassion fatigue.
Mm.
Let's talk healing while you're helping. Let's talk about the weight we carry and the cost of never putting it down. This is Passion from Pain, and today's guest is the woman helping heal the people who heal everyone else. Dr. Carmy Aristor. Let's get into it. Thank you, my dear, for coming on. I'm excited for this episode because this topic has come up quite a bit in quite a few interviews that I've had, and I'm real excited for you to come on. And so, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. And gosh, that introduction, I'm going to keep that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to just kind of talk about everything that you mentioned. It's dear to my heart, and I want to just build awareness around those topics for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And you have a passion for it, and a purpose came from your own personal experience with this. And so, can you tell the listeners where this passion for this particular project came from?
Yeah. I mean, I can go back to even just my early college days. I started as a nursing major. I can't even see blood without my knees getting weak. So I don't know what I was thinking. But I transitioned, got into psychology, fell in love with it, and always felt like it was a calling, like when you're feeling like you're the one in the room and that's who everyone is asking for advice and they're having their problems. And so now to just really make it a career it felt very natural.
Mm.
But then I did veer off and ended up not fully taking on that path and doing other stuff. I got my MBA, then I got my master's in human resource management, just kind of finding my way. And so I ended up being a program director at a juvenile detention facility. Yeah, in New York City. Um, and then I decided to go back to complete my master's in mental health counseling. And so the pain came in when I always knew I wanted to do this long term and it be my end game, but there was always this hesitation. There was something about having a 9 to 5 and it being secure that stopped me from really taking that leap
Mhm.
into having my own private practice. And then the company closed.
Ooh.
So at that point, I had to make that decision. What am I going to do? I was a single mom, as you mentioned, of two. My daughter was 11, my son was 8. And I decided to take the leap. I said, this is truly my calling. Even when I'm meeting with my client, it feels innately me. I'm not putting out too much. It's kind of easy, so to speak. And so I left New York, came to Georgia, started the practice, and that's when everything became real. That's the pain part of it. So there was passion for sure, but that was the pain part.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I want to put it out there, and I know we brought this up in our pre-interview, but I love the fact that you were a single mama because I believe that single mamas carry an incredible amount of strength that only comes from being a single mom.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it
We-
it puts a fight in you that you just can't get from any other experience, really.
Yeah, totally agree. And I believe that part of my resilience now does come from that experience. One, as you mentioned, being a single mom. Two, taking that leap, being in a new state. I had no networks here. I had family, but I didn't have business networks. And so it was truly resilience that got me past that beginning stage. And when we're talking about burnout and compassion fatigue, I experienced it from day one because there was this pressure to make it work, right?
Sure.
And this was not a 9 to 5. This was having my own private practice and yet still having the passion to want to help others. So I had my clients in New York still. So those were my 10 session days. And where I loved the work that I was doing, there was this pressure to be able to bring in the money as well
Yeah.
because got to pay the bills also. And burnout was my best friend and was right here at the side of the chair.
Mhm.
Once I completed any day of sessions, I crashed. And then to crash and have 2 little ones that are now saying, "Hey, what's for dinner?" Or, "Hey, I need help with homework," or, "This is what's going on in school." So it was truly a hard season for me, that beginning stage.
Yeah, yeah. And how did you just push through?
That motivation, that resilience, right? That resilience, that motivation, I can't lose. I have to win. And so I became a student of what the field needed from me to and again, when I initially wrote my ebook, the first title was What They Didn't Teach Us in Grad School. And then I changed it to Healing the Healer. But initially, it was everything that I had to do at the beginning to build a practice, to understand self-care, and just to be able to balance what I love to do with what life is requiring of me at the same time. You're not taught that at all. And too many times we're hitting the wall and then realizing something needs to happen different. And many times practices don't make it. So hitting the wall then will close the door and then you're looking for a 9 to 5 because that's where it's more secure, it's more guaranteed, and so I'm gonna take off this entrepreneur hat and go do that, but I never wanted to go back. I just wanted to make this dream come alive.
And that was actually gonna be my next question because most people, would say screw it and just go back to the 9 to 5,
Yeah,
and they have that structure. Okay, 5 o'clock, I can turn it off, and I have,
yeah,
some sort of security that the money is coming. Some sort.
yeah,
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 chance of getting fired or the business closing or laid off or whatever. But you have some sort of security. Whereas, this other way, I mean, you're on 24/7. And I know being a business owner myself,
mhm,
it's on 24/7. You can't turn it off necessarily. And it is all on you. And there is no clocking out at 5 o'clock.
right.
And so just not having that in you to make that decision to go back, it just wasn't an option for
It
you.
wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. I had this vision and I wanted to see it come to pass. And the vision was doing it on my terms. And that's why the going back to 9 to 5 wasn't appealing to me. I wanted to be able to name my business. I wanted to be able to set the tone and the culture of the clinicians that would join me. And like I always felt this need to multiply the purpose but the vision that I saw, the passion that I saw. And if I did compromise and do a 9 to 5, it would have then took away the energy that I needed to build what I saw. I saw it when I was in New York. I just kept saying, eventually I'll do it. But I was forced to it when the company closed, and it did become a, "Okay, well, do you start it now, or do you go find another director position and try to start it?" And then, I don't know, it was just a, "Let's do this. Let's
Yeah.
do this. Let's go," and it's been rewarding ever since. It had its pain points, of course,
Sure.
with the burnout, the compassion fatigue. I mean, these are becoming buzzwords, but I truly did experience them hands on, where I was taking on a lot of what my clients were bringing. And again, you lean in and you want to be there. You want to be authentically supportive. You want to glean from the theories that you've learned and the practices that you know would help. And you're pushing homework and strategies and ways. So it takes a lot of, and if you truly care about what you're doing, it takes a lot of energy and pull from you. And yeah, when I would go to bed, I'm thinking of my clients. I'm thinking of new ways, or maybe I should have told them to do this, or are they going to do the homework this time? Because I really need her to get it. And there's this investment, this emotional investment that then takes a toll on you. And that's where that fatigue comes from, that physical, emotional, mental fatigue that you don't notice until maybe someone else points it out because you're a bit more moody now, or you're a little bit more irritable, things like that. Yeah.
You start hearing every day you walk in, man, you just look tired.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you look so tired? And it's like, yeah, something's up.
Piece of makeup on. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what did the burnout look like for you when no one was watching? You know, the kids were in bed, the clients weren't calling, you weren't at the office.
Yeah. Yeah. The burnout looked like late night crying. Because not only did I feel the pressure to win when it came to opening the practice, I felt the pressure to be a single mom
Yeah.
and just the judgment behind it. Like, you're a single mom, you uprooted the kids, you're opening up a practice, like, you're doing too much, Carmy, was really the sentiment I was getting from those around me. Like, this is too much. And are you focusing on the kids? And so, single mom wise, I was at um every dance, every recital, every sports game, right? But at the same time, trying to show up for my practice as well. So those late nights when the kids are down and clearly I have no sessions, there were a lot of tears, a lot of praying, a lot of second guessing. Nothing that really served me. Well, the prayer probably served me, but the crying and the second guessing didn't. The beating myself up, the feeling guilty, the hoping I'm doing it right, but from a place of despair, not of empowerment at all. So that's how the burnout looked. But then waking up the next morning and I'm on again. So it's like, all right, here we go. You can't let the ball drop until 11 o'clock that night and you're right back to this too much. It's too much.
And realistically, there's just too much going on to stop and cry. I mean,
Yikes.
I've been there. I've been there. But the minute it all stops, it's like, what am I doing? Yeah, I get it. I get it. It's real. It's real.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, when did you first realize that, compassion was costing you more than it was giving you?
I started hearing myself give guidance to my clients that I needed for myself. I remember sitting in sessions and going, oh, that's not just for him, or that's not just for her. Carmi, you're not even practicing what you're telling them to do. And it started happening over, like, there was just a pocket of time, maybe a year in, a pocket of time where that was repeatedly happening. And I took a step back and felt like a hypocrite. I'm sitting here saying self-care, you have to take time for yourself. If you're giving from an empty cup, you're not serving anyone well. All these words that I'm giving and cliches that I'm throwing out there to help them see and value themselves enough to start here and then pour out. I was not doing myself, and so that definitely became an eye opener for me.
Well, and then you had to fit that work in on top of an already packed schedule because that's a lot of work as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got real creative with it. So what I started doing was pacing out my session. Well, one, what I started doing is not doing 10 sessions a day anymore. So that I needed to spread out through the week. So where at one point I didn't want to do Saturday sessions, I opened up a couple of hours on Saturdays so that now I'm kind of just spacing it out a little bit more. And what I did is in between, because I was doing back to back, I would literally hang up one call and jumping on the next one. There was no break, there was no pause or anything. Then I took out an hour to actually stop, eat, walk, move my body. I even bought a treadmill because I know the gym was not gonna be realistic. I don't have the time to get to the gym. So, got a treadmill, had it right next to the desk, and then just did 30 minutes on it so that I'm moving my body and giving myself that time to just relax. Played some instrumental music just to kinda keep the mind calm. I didn't, before I would put on reality TV, but it kind of still kept me frazzled. It didn't calm me at all. I was like, "Okay, what's going on?"
Too invested.
Yeah, it's entertaining, but it's not calming me at all. So even I picked up on that. So there was those things that I was doing, and I started to feel completely different. Those nights were not nights of despair anymore. I wasn't crying at the end of the night. And I was even enjoying my time with the kids more. So I was more intentional. So if I knew I took that 4 hours out after dance sessions and sports, but like if it was 3 to 7 on a Saturday, I made a special dinner Saturday evening where we're sitting down together and we're talking. And that felt really good. I had the energy for it. I was more present for it. And I wasn't as fatigued. I
Yeah.
wasn't as fatigued, yeah.
Wonderful. I love it. I love it. And how prolific is this problem in the healer or helper community?
Yeah. You hear it all the time. Even in my practice, I have clinicians now that it's a group practice now, and we service New York, New Jersey, Maryland, and Georgia. And so I offer clinical supervision to those that need their hours, but then some do come on as independent contractors. And so I don't have to offer the supervision hours, but they are on board with the practice. Those that I see as far as critical supervision, self-care is always at the bottom of the list. So with every meeting at the end, I'm asking, "So in the last week, what did you do for yourself? What did you focus on for you?" And making it very visible in our meeting that this is an important piece. We can talk about how we're showing up as a clinician, how we're building rapport with our clients, how we're ensuring the treatment plans are individually tailored and appropriate. What are the diagnoses? Yes, we can do all of that, and we will not ever veer off of doing that because that is the work that we're doing and what we're passionate about. But there needs to be a focus on you. What do you enjoy to do? Is it nature? What are your values? And what boundaries do you need to put in place? At times, it may be a cutoff point in that day, or a client calls last minute and it's 7 o'clock and you said you were gonna stop at 7. Having enough compassion for yourself to be able to set that boundary and say, "You know what? I have some time tomorrow, but this
Yeah.
evening I can't." And so I do definitely see it in my practice, but even in circles and just talking with other clinicians, it's just a running theme that, ugh, I don't know, especially those that are in private practice, because those that are working for other agencies, they do have a cutoff time and they could put that boundary real easy. But when you are running the practice, you are wearing many hats. I was the biller, I was the one taking the intake calls, I was the one registering everyone, I was the admin, I was admin. So yeah, that you have to set the boundary or it's gonna take over
Mhm.
completely, and so being aware of that is important. It is extremely common in the helping profession, not even just clinicians as far as mental health. When I speak to medical practitioners as well, those that and they have a shift. They'll stay over, they won't even clock out during time, and
Right.
it comes from the compassion. I'm helping my patients and yet nothing is being done to refuel that energy to go back and do what you're doing to the best of your ability.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and even just caregivers, people
Yeah.
who are caring for somebody who's sick, elderly parents or something like that.
Yeah,
It definitely goes into that sphere as well.
yeah, for sure. for sure. We're seeing that. We're seeing that with the calls that we get and the clients that are coming in. You're right. Caregivers are another category of not taking time for
Yeah.
themselves at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was watching a video not that long ago, and it was basically the idea that it was trying to portray was the fact that, folks that are in these healing positions, whether coaches or therapists or psychologists, just in a helping or healing capacity of some sort, they often carry the emotional weight of their clients as well. They take that on themselves, going beyond the time constraints, what they're putting into, their practice and the time that they're putting into their practice, but they're also carrying that emotional weight and they're not doing anything with that as well.
Yeah. 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 And to me, the awareness is what's most important, right? So, I kind of coined it the 4 A's, the awareness, being aware that one, yes, I'm doing great work, but it can affect me too. So it doesn't stop at me doing great work. Acknowledging where your triggers are. There are certain clients that are more triggering, and I can have a whole other episode on that, but there are some clients that trigger, and there's a reason for that, but acknowledging which clients are pulling more from you, definitely acknowledging that, and then alignment. What are my values? What are my boundaries? What am I aligning so that I'm caring for myself and I'm able to care for others? Not or, and able to do both. And then creating an action plan. What is your action plan? Not just recognizing it and talking about it, but what does that mean? Is it pacing out your sessions? Is it having a break in between sessions? Having time for yourself, vacation time, going away, ensuring that you're at least doing that. How are you intentional about the relationships around you that do feed you? What are the meditative practices or spiritual practices that you have that can feed you? So, definitely just, yes, awareness, but leading to action.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Why do you think that oh goodness. I had it there for a second. Why do you think healers struggle to say I'm not okay?
I think there's a couple of answers I would say possibly contribute to why healers struggle with saying I'm not okay. There is that savior complex, right? I am a healer. I'm helping. And so I have the answers.
Mhm.
So, how do I get to a point where I'm able to be vulnerable enough to say, ooh, I don't have the answers for me. And so that is part of it. We do walk in, yes, it's a passion. Yes, it comes from a place of compassion, but there is a sense of hierarchy is a horrible word to use in that regard, but you are the one giving. And so it does put you in a position of power. And that could be fed off on, well, I don't really need the help. I have the answers. Or there's some guilt as well. How can I not be able to be okay and I'm helping everyone else? I should have this together. I'm sitting here helping others, helping other clinicians. Of course, I have it together. This isn't as serious as I think it is. It'll be just fine. Or let me just get to that one vacation a year and I'll totally relax. But until then, I got this. This is not a big deal. But what they're not recognizing is your central nervous system is being dwarfed the more you're taking this on and not caring and calming yourself, not training your brain and your mind to slow down, to be calm, to rejuvenate, protect that energy. So it's a false perception that I can just keep going because even scientifically, it's not feasible that you will just keep going and be as effective as the person who does take that time to, again, slow it down and to rejuvenate the energy to best do it for the clients that they're serving or patients or caregiving.
Mhm. Mhm. How does a practitioner's emotional trauma slip into the therapeutic space. Even for seasoned professionals, I mean, it seems to show up even later on if they haven't addressed it or dealt with it.
Yeah. And that's the whole concept of vicarious traumatization. And it's it's twofold. It's either you are taking on the trauma of your clients and that exposure alone compounded becomes a ball of stress, and it can show itself in detachment, becoming numb, becoming cynical about the work, not as passionate, not wanting to show up for work. And that's just allowing that trauma is not even your own, but taking on, and it's compounding. But now we do have clinicians that have their own trauma and haven't done the work, but because there's the passion to help others in trauma. It's triggering. That's the trigger that I was mentioning before. At times, you'll have a client trigger you, and sometimes that is a sign that, hey, there's something I'm supposed to be working on. Or if I'm quickly irritated with this client, unreasonably so, there's something I may be working on. If my Wednesday, 12 o'clock, before I go in, I'm dragging my feet into the office, there's something I need to pay attention to. Again, awareness is key. Awareness is 50% of the work that you're doing. Got to be able to see, got to be able to evaluate yourself enough to see the ugly and face it. And that may be just through your own therapeutic journey. In my opinion, every therapist should have a therapist. That's probably the best model to have so you can work out your stuff also.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, with the courses that I'm creating, one is for helping the healers, but helping the healers recognize compassion fatigue and burnout, right? So that's course one. And that can be for anyone that's in the helping profession, but wants to be effective, wants to maintain their energy at a level that they can be proud of at the end of the day and be able to maintain personal life. But the second course is for those helpers or healers that have their own trauma and want to work you through. So now the course is not therapy itself,
Mhm.
but it does help to explain the polyvagal theory so you can see the science behind it, where you are re traumatizing yourself when you decide to not do the work yourself, but take on the traumas of others.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And it really is work that I had to do myself. I had to do all of that from I experienced all of it. Burnout, compassion fatigue, and vicarious trauma. The very beginning of building the practice was my burnout, right? Then I kind of found my groove, but then there was compassion fatigue. I was leaning in, I wouldn't say too much, but I was leaning into where I didn't recognize how it was affecting me. Didn't see that, right? And I just thought, look how much I care for my clients. Like I got the business going great. I'm not crying at the end of the night, but I'm carrying them. It's a bit much. Like I'm feeling heavier and it's not even my load. And I'm feeling that way. So I emotionally and mentally felt fatigued. And it wasn't me, right? It wasn't anything that was actually happening in my life. And then there was that vicarious trauma where I was just being pulled. And I was like,
Mhm.
wait, I thought I dealt with this already. Yeah, trying to find myself a therapist so that I'm not opening these wounds while I'm trying to help someone else. It's that whole concept when you're on the plane, they say, put on your mask first
Yeah.
and then put the mask on everyone else. And so I went through those stages, which is why now it's just I want to help with the awareness and just kind of catch early on clinicians and say, hey, yes, to some degree, we are saving the world. We are, but you can't lose yourself while doing that.
No, no, you can't. And this is not, they don't teach you guys this in school.
No, no.
Wow.
It's very theory based. You know, you may have You may have mention of it, but it's
Sure.
not emphasized. And I think it's as important as the work that we're doing, how we care for ourselves and recognize one, our own traumas, if there's any, right? That's not everyone's story, but if there is, recognizing it, addressing it, and being empowered past it. And now you got your mask on. Now go help others with their mask so that it's done well and it's done therapeutically and in a healthy manner.
Yeah. I talk to a lot of people in the mental health field. In most of the ones that come on the show are ones that have experienced trauma, and they were,
Hmm.
led by purpose and passion because of their trauma to go and help others. So they went
Mhm.
and got their degrees and whatnot. And
Mhm.
so there is quite a few people who, felt the calling and do carry this trauma with them. And,
Yeah.
you've got to just wonder and hope and pray that they've done the work, because I mean, I can see how somebody who hasn't can do some even more damage to the client that they're seeing if they haven't done
Mhm.
the work.
Yeah. Yeah. The therapy room is so abstract in a sense where it's not like medical science where you're going to take a blood test. You're going to say, well, your white blood cells are here, your red blood cells are here. Like we see it, we know how to treat it. When we're talking about the therapy room, it's very fluid.
Mhm.
And that's why it's dangerous to have your own trauma while trying to help someone else because the space is so fluid. You can guide that person in so many different ways based on what they're experiencing. But if you're projecting your pain, then it's subjective
Mhm.
how you're guiding them. And that's the dangerous part.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I'm glad there's people like you out there helping them helping them because they need it too. Number 1, they're human, and number 2, they do have that responsibility where they're trying to help other people
Yeah.
through their problems, and we definitely don't want them to be overworked. We definitely don't want them feeling the burnout, and we definitely don't want them taking on, you know, the traumas of other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want them to be able to help and fulfill their purpose
Mhm.
in a healthy way.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
about what you're doing. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
So, what do you wish, more people would know or understand when they're first going into this field? What advice do you have for anybody just starting to
Mhm.
get into therapy, psychotherapy, to kind of prevent this?
Yeah. My number one advice would be to seek out therapy for yourself. Whether you believe you need it or not, it's like a medical doctor refusing to ever take medicine. Like, how fair is that really? You studied it. So we would want to think you can subject yourself to that same treatment as well. So that would be my number one, to seek out therapy for yourself. And from that process, having a wellness plan again for yourself. What am I going to do to ensure that I'm protecting my energy? Your energy is important. It's what you're giving every day. And so if you don't protect it, then you're not doing the work to ensure that you're at your optimal best to be able to do the work for the ones that you are compassionate about and want to help. So having your own therapy, creating a wellness plan, and then having accountability, having other clinicians that you do share on a regular basis where you're not, when you build a private practice, a lot of times it can be very lonely. It's you don't have the coworkers. You're not at a cubicle next to someone else to kind of just compare and talk about. So having that accountability, that support with colleagues, you can network in whatever state that you're in, that would help as well because again, that compassion fatigue, burnout, or even a vicarious trauma is common. It's not an isolated event. It's very common. And so if you're talking with others, it kind of demystifies it and helps you through it as well. And just stay knowledgeable. Stay on top of it. Stay knowledgeable, whether it is having your private practice and the business aspect of it. Stay knowledgeable. What do you need to do? Don't half-ass it, right?
Right.
Yeah, just have a standard of excellence. This is what you stand for. This is what represents you, the work that you love to do. Have that standard. Stay knowledgeable. Stay on top of what the new lingo is, the words. Just be excellent at what you're doing. So definitely engage in therapy yourself, have a wellness plan, have accountability partners, colleagues, someone, network, and stay knowledgeable, stay smart. Don't lean on what you learned in grad school only. The learning does not stop. And that's why I'm saying with psychology, it's so fluid. It's not a 1 plus 1 is 2, and then it's just always gonna be 2. No, it's like 1 year, this is the theory, and this is what makes sense, and then a pandemic happens,
Yeah.
and now we're re-evaluating what anxiety looks like and what PTSD looks like. It's not just for veterans anymore, now it's a thing. So, staying on top of it, staying knowledgeable is important as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And so, what did it take for you to rebuild your identity as a clinician after the burnout
Hmm.
and the fatigue?
What it took? Is that the question?
Yeah. What did it take for you to rebuild your identity as a clinician afterwards?
Yeah. Taking on going from solo practice to group changed my perspective a lot. It did become what I mentioned, like it wasn't an isolated event anymore or isolating experience anymore. I had other clinicians that I was partnered with and now offering supervision as well. So that kept me sharp. It almost was, well, you can't wing it and you you have others that are kinda counting on you for real this time. So that did help a lot for me to recreate or regain my identity as a clinician that I can say that I'm proud of. And then I went to, get my PhD in psychology, and that definitely ignited my love for psychology all over again and just learning and just the rigor of the program itself, just keeping I think maybe that's why my last point was knowledge, like always staying on top of things, because I found that to be very refreshing, very rejuvenating. And yeah, and once I became Dr. Carmy Aristor, that was a whole rebranding because now I want to help everybody. So now it was like the reach is wider now, and there's more that I can help. There's more credibility behind my name too, and so, yeah, that's why there's a course, there's an ebook, there's a journal, now the creative juices are flowing and I'm having fun with it. So that was kind of my journey into becoming who I am today as a clinician, my identity.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk about your course and your ebook and
Mm.
all of that. What does that all look like for somebody who's looking for help? They're like, I'm burnt out. I'm at my wits' end. I need help. What do they do?
Yeah. So the first course is helping the healer. And that course, and sometimes just even saying the word course, it sounds heavier than it is. It really is like a 60-minute. You could really sit through it and go through the modules in 60 minutes. And what it's doing is it's one introducing the terms, it's introducing the science behind it, but it's also as you go along, you're creating a wellness plan for yourself as you're going along. So you're recognizing things about yourself and you're creating strategies to kind of offset the triggers that you're recognizing. And so that's the first course. The ebook is my love letter to the new clinicians because it's my story. So this is what it looked like for me. This is how I went from burnout to compassion fatigue to handling my vicarious trauma. And so it's really a story in story form, a lot of personal examples on what the burnout looked like, those late nights. Or there was one night I had a pile of notes just on the desk and I'm looking at it because I'm writing my clinical notes, but I gotta get them on the computer, and, like, when am I going to do that? So, stories like that are in the book. There are some exercises like doing an energy audit. What are the things that drain me? What are the things that sustain me? What are the things that replenish me? And just being able to create that, that's part of a wellness plan too, because you want to ensure that what replenishes you you're continuously doing. So that's the ebook. The second course is more on the vicarious trauma portion. So it does repeat some of the portions of course one because we're still talking about the science behind it. But now we're talking about the trauma and taking it on and what that looks like and how to address it. So that digs in a little deeper and that is a little bit longer as well. So that is probably a 2.5, 3 hour course to get through. And the final thing, well, two other things, there's a journal. There's a 31-day intentional start journal that just came out, and it's just full of affirmations, prompts and ways to check in with yourself,
Mhm.
different worksheets to work out for 31 days. It's not necessarily a January 1st thing because someone may start their year at on their birthday, and that's what starts the year, or an anniversary, or or January 1st, which is fine as well. So it's just a 31-day journal. And then finally, I have a coaching package for new clinicians that want the one-on-one with me to be able to receive consultation at the beginning. So what does the business look like? What does self-care look like? Definitely we'll be talking about that, but more so the business aspect of it, the marketing, um the licenses that are needed, how do you get on insurance panels and just all of that know-how. So that's a package as well that I offer.
Very cool. Very cool. I love it. I love
Yeah, thank
it.
you.
And what is goodness, man, I'm just thinking here. Um, so you help them with the business side, the emotional side, and the business side of everything. So you've got really the complete package kind of going on there for people who are looking to
Yeah.
start their own business in this field. That's really awesome.
Yeah, so it offers 2 60-minute coaching calls a month. It's a 6-month package, but initially there's a strategy session for 90 minutes, and so we're just strategizing. That's a product in and of itself. So someone may just wanna come and say, "Hey, I just need to strategize for 90 minutes with you." And so we'll do that, and we'll go through, just kinda breaking things down and what a launch would look like. But the 6 month is I'm walking alongside you, and it's broken down into different modules. 1 month is marketing, the other month is documentation. What does that look like? What templates do you need for that? What does a launch look like? What do insurance panels look like? So it's broken up that way with they also receive a workbook. And so, yeah, it's built to walk alongside the new
This
clinician.
is stuff they don't teach you in college either,
Not
and your programs either. Oh, wow.
they do not, they do not.
What did you guys teach me?
I mean, it was very theory heavy, you gotta know the theories, you have to know I mean, obviously, it was helpful, it's just was holistic. It's not a holistic experience.
Sure, sure. And that's where programs like this are gonna be really helpful, really helpful.
Hopefully.
That's really cool about the online space,
Yeah,
today, you can get that information that was really hard to get before,
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
it's like yourself who lived it can put that package together for people and put their lived experience together.
yeah,
Love it.
yeah. The hope of that it helps whoever needs the help and is bold and brave enough to ask for it, because that's a step as well. The the assistance is there. It's
Yeah.
definitely there.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Do you have anything you'd like to leave the audience with today?
I mean, you asked amazing questions, so I feel like even if I had any nuggets in my pocket, you pulled it out. So, yeah, I don't think I have anything additional other than, my 4 A's, the awareness, acknowledgement, alignment, and action for sure. Having an energy audit, what drains you, what sustains you, what replenishes you, everything building awareness. And the 4 key points. I love that question. Seeking therapy, as far as what advice that I would give, creating a wellness plan that you are going to follow like it is the Bible, having accountability, other professionals around you, and then staying knowledgeable, staying on top of your craft, staying on top
Yeah.
of it. Yeah.
I love it. I do have one last question for you, and this is more for people who are dealing with or who have a mental health provider. Um, what advice would you have for your average everyday person patient who maybe thinks that they have a provider who maybe has some trauma that they haven't dealt with, or they have some issues like this going on, or how could they spot something like this? Because it, like we talked about earlier, it can be, a little bit dangerous if the clinician or the therapist hasn't done their own work.
Yeah.
You know, how could everyday person just know if they're kind of in a situation like that?
It would be difficult because it's not as if you can ask the clinician the same questions they're asking you. So that is a strange spot to be in. But what I would say and what I typically tell, at one point I was the one taking all the calls that came in. And at times I would have an individual say, because my question is always, have you ever engaged in therapy before, or will this be your first experience? Right. So whenever they say, yeah, I've had a therapist, and I go, okay, can you tell me a bit about what that last experience was? And are you returning for the same concern or a new concern? You can tell it's very scripted, Emily.
Yeah,
But,
it
um,
works, it works.
whenever they would say, "Oh, yeah, I was meeting with someone for a couple of months, but, I don't feel like it was a good fit." My next question would be, "Did you communicate that to the therapist?" Because it's a relationship in the therapy room. So if you're feeling like something's off, did you say, "Hey, I don't feel like I'm getting as much support as I need." Now, the clinician hopefully will explore what that means, what type of a support did you expect? What do you feel like you're getting? What would you need more of? And in that way, you're kind of putting ownership on the clinician to check in with themselves and to revamp because you're not getting what you need.
Mm,
I also tell them to advocate because that's the skill for the individual too. In your own life, if you're in a relationship and you're not getting what you need, you should be able to advocate for what you need. It's not any different in the therapy room. So that would be a way to kind of gauge, is my therapist taking care of themselves because something doesn't feel exactly right. And then I do encourage them. I said, okay, you're coming over to Destined Horizons. If at any point in time you feel like you're not getting what you need, please feel free to just advocate and say, because the therapy room is such an intimate space. If you're not comfortable, why are you paying your money to go? Don't go or find someone else. And it's okay to find the best fit because it's that important. You don't just marry anyone. Well,
right,
wouldn't just marry anyone. There's a
right.
vetting process, and that should be the same. But if you're in the room and you're wondering, hey, I don't think my therapist is fully present, or I think my therapist pushed a little harder on this topic more than need be.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
hey.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on and touching on this topic and
Mm.
being open about your story. I love your story. I just think it's incredible. And the things that you've accomplished as a single mom, holy cow,
Thank you.
you're amazing. I don't know if it tells you enough that you are. I
Thank
love it.
you. Thank you. Well, listen, I'm not a single mom anymore. I don't want my husband to listen to this and say, "Oh, really? So you're still thinking of." He did come along at some point, but yes, yes, there was definitely a 7-year period of me being a single mom
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. And it built you into an incredible woman for sure. And
Mm.
I hope he would agree. I think he will.
I believe so. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And that right there is why conversations like this are necessary.
Mhm.
Because Dr. Carmy didn't come here today to put on a clinical mask or recite textbook definitions. She came here as a human first and the healer second. She came here as a woman who knows what it means to carry everyone else's story while trying not to collapse under the weight of her own. She came here as someone who rebuilt herself the hard way, quietly, privately, honestly, the way most helpers are forced to. If you've ever been the strong one, the reliable one, the fixer, the emotional first responder, then you heard your own heartbeat in her words today. Dr. Carmy reminded us that purpose without boundaries becomes punishment. And that's not just for the mental health field. That empathy without limits will drain you dry. That being the go to person is not a personality trait, it's often a trauma response. And she showed us that burnout isn't weakness, it's the body screaming for compassion, so we freely give it to everyone else. She walked us through what it takes to recognize when you're slipping, rebuild your internal framework, reconnect to your purpose without killing yourself for it, and finally extend the healing inward instead of endlessly outward. And the courage it takes to do that work, it's not found in a degree, it's not found in a license, it's not found in clinical training, it's found in that sacred moment where you decide that I matter too. So, Dr. Carmy, thank you. Thank you for your transparency and your wisdom. And thank you for pulling back the curtain on a profession that is drowning in burnout and pretending that everything's fine. And thank you for creating the tools, the course, the books, the practice that help heal the people who spend their lives healing others. To everyone listening, if today hit you a little too close, then good, sit with it. Let it crack something open. Let it challenge how you show up for yourself. And if you're in the struggle, if you're the one who's been white knuckling your days and breaking down in silence, find support, find the tools, find the help you deserve, and stop waiting for permission to rest. This is Passion from Pain, and I'm Amy Pease. I love you. I believe in you. And I'll see you next time where we keep turning the heaviness we carry into the strength that we were born for. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.